on the Newman Jets Audio Network. This is the Jetcast, the official podcast of Newman University Athletics, featuring exclusive interviews with coaches, players, administrators, and more. The Jetcast podcast is brought to you by Ascension Via Christi, Donlinger Construction, Pizza Ranch, Mel Hambledon Ford, Eck Agency, Dr. Brennan Lucas and Advanced Orthopedic Associates, Keystone Solid Surfaces, Big Corner Creative, and by Pepsi. Here's the voice of the Newman Jets, Blake Cripps.
The Newman Jets golfers are on a bye this week. It's the perfect time to catch them before the men and women both head back to the tee box next week. The fall season ends soon, actually ending in a couple of weeks this month, and then a break. We catch up with NU Director of Golf Taryn Torgerson on episode 76 of the Jetcast, and do something a little bit different this week. We're actually having the entire episode is going to be devoted to golf. So we've got a men's golfer coming up. We've got a women's golfer coming up. Braxton, Muldoon, Alivia, Nguyen will come up on the show. So it's all golf this week on the Jetcast. Coach, you guys are hard to keep up with this time of year. Very, very busy. So we appreciate on the bye week you making time for the Jetcast.
Yeah, for sure. It's nice to have a little time to catch our breath a little bit. We've been on the road a lot.
Yeah, it's a little bit different for you guys compared to some other sports. Obviously, with the way that the schedule lines out, you just don't get that many home events. You know, you're playing baseball, basketball, volleyball. You know that half of your events are going to be at home. You guys have one event, maybe two a year at home. Obviously, most of them are drivable distance, but how much wear and tear does that put on a team, you know, psychologically? Obviously, you know what you're getting into when you sign up for golf, but you guys do kind of have to be road warriors to succeed at your sport, don't you?
Yeah, this time of year, my suitcase does not get unpacked. You just take the clothes out, wash them, and put them back in.
Sure.
That's kind of the season that we're in right now, and with where we live, with the weather and stuff, they cram about 5 tournaments into 6 or 7 weeks. So we don't have a lot of time off. We had one, then we had a week off, 2 in a row, week off, and then 2 in a row to finish. So it is a lot of wear and tear because we're not just, making a one-day trip and then coming back. You're sleeping in different hotel beds every week. You're sitting in vans for long periods of time, golf carts, all that. I know. I don't know if I'm just getting old or what, but my back hurts a lot after I get back, and I've sitting in all those different positions. But it is a lot of wear and tear. They're missing a lot of class. They're having to keep up with homework and studies and things like that on the road, while also, treating it as a quote-unquote business trip because, we are there for a reason to play, hopefully, good golf. So they handle it really well, and I try and be cognizant of that and give them off days when I see that they need off days and time to themselves. So.
It seems like you guys have been playing every weekend. Line up the schedule for us. When you guys play, and golf in the MIAA is typically contested on Mondays and Tuesdays, or when the tournaments are. When do you guys leave? I'm assuming, depending on the location, you're coming back Tuesday night or Wednesday if it's a really far drive. So leave on Friday afternoon, because I know that there's typically the opportunity for a practice round somewhere in there over the weekend. How does that line out?
Yeah, so we always leave on Sunday mornings.
Oh, so you don't leave till Sunday. Okay.
Yeah, we leave on Sunday mornings, and then we always have a practice round scheduled at some point Sunday afternoon, late morning. So we'll play the practice round Sunday, and then we'll play 18 holes Monday, 18 holes Tuesday, and then we'll return to campus after that on Tuesday. On the men's side, the same schedule, but we play 36 holes Monday.
Wow.
And then 18 holes Tuesday, and then we'll return to campus again Tuesday evening.
How much of an extra grind is it on the guys to have to play that extra round on Monday?
It is a grind. That's a good way of putting it. I always tell them you can't say to yourself, "Oh, only 28 more holes to go." Like if you're counting down, it's going to be a long day. So I personally think, because when I was playing, I played a bunch of 36-hole days, and you're in the competitive grind, and it's a kind of a different mindset going in. So it kind of goes by a little faster than you think, but once you get to the back half of that second round, it's truly who wants it more and who's going to grind more.
I would imagine that if you have a really good first round and you don't have a good second round, that has to be the most aggravating thing in the world. Obviously, weather conditions can change. The wind direction can change. It can make holes, play substantially easier and then come around the afternoon and then substantially harder depending on if you're playing a draw or, however you play the ball. The wind can either extremely help your game or hurt your game. But how do you, after the first round, you have to think, well, I'm just going to annihilate this course the second time. But it's not always that easy, is it?
No, it definitely isn't. And there are days, like you said, with weather conditions and stuff, that it could feel like 2 different days on the 2 different rounds.
Do they change the pin locations in between?
They don't. They're set for round 1, and then day one. Sorry, and then they'll change them for day 2. But everything stays the same on day 1. But like you said, weather conditions can happen, and by the time you get to that same hole for the second time that day, it could be playing totally different. But if somebody plays bad in the first round, I actually like that because you can literally start over from 0 after that. You sign that scorecard, you put it behind you, and then you move forward to the next one, and you can hopefully, change the way that the second round goes and kind of start over.
Last tournament for you guys, we'll start with the women. It was at the Grace Shin Invite down in Oklahoma. Women got 8th, a couple of very good individual performances, 2 top 25 finishes for your team, 1 in the top 10. What did you like about the Navy and Reds performance down for the ladies in Oklahoma?
Yeah, it was we've struggled a little bit so far just putting team scores together so far this year. So to have put some good numbers up on the board was really good to see. Saw some good things from all 5 of them, which was really nice. I know we had a couple. Alivia had a career best round in round 1, and then Megan and Aiden had career best rounds in the second round, day 2. We're still kind of tweaking some things and kind of still trying to get her form back a little bit. And then, of course, Felisa's just solid. So she was really good for us, but having 2 top 25s, that'll do a lot for the team. Men
were 12th up in the capital city at the Washburn University Invite, and you had a top 25 finisher there as well.
Yeah. So Justin's playing really well right now. He came in and he worked really, really hard this summer, and we've seen that. He qualified number 1 pretty easily going into the season, and then that's 2 really, really solid rounds at Topeka that first day. So I'm really happy for him. I think there was a few that he left out there in day 2 that he'd like to have back, but don't we all when we play golf? So, but he's put some really solid numbers up on the board. He's never, posted that many consistently low rounds. So really hoping that he has a strong senior year for us and can finish out the fall really well. Now
the men are hosting the Newman Invite next week. So actually there will be a home date for you guys finally, Monday and Tuesday next week. Give us the details about that and how excited are you? I know that when the ladies got to do this last year a couple of times, that was a really big deal because you had the Newman Invite, and then the MIAA championships were also here in the Wichita area, I should say. And now the men get to host an event here to almost cap the fall. Not quite. There's 1 extra week after that. But how nice is it for you and for the guys to be able to play some golf here close to home?
Yeah, it's going to be great. This is the first time we've hosted a men's home event since we've joined the MIAA, just because joining that conference, there's 3 required events every year that all MIAA men's schools have to play in, and they kind of do that on a rotation, and it's our turn to host. So that's kind of how we got to this point.
And it's going to be at
Sand Creek, yeah. They do a great job hosting events and work really well with us. So we're excited. I think it'll be a great opportunity for hopefully some other, faculty, staff, coaches, fellow student athletes, classmates, things like that to come out and support them, because you just don't get that opportunity very often for the guys to see support from their peers. So we're hoping that we can get some people out there to support them and hopefully play well on our home track.
I know that one of the things you were really trying to do with the women's program this year was build the roster. You've done that. You've added a couple of players to the roster. It has increased in size from last year. For the men, you've got a little bit of a blend, 2 seniors, 3 freshmen. Just talk about the rosters, the pieces that you've added.
Yeah, it's been really good. I think something that my former coach always said to me when I was kind of wanting to be a coach is recruit better players than you have now. Which is hard to do because
Sure.
I feel like we have a great group on both sides. But just adding the pieces, and we have really great kids. You'll hear from two of them here in a little bit. Braxton and Alivia are about as good as it gets.
Yeah, that was actually my next question, asking about those two and what they've meant to the programs individually, and what's it been like to coach them individually.
Oh yeah, it's been awesome. I couldn't ask for two better kids. I think I've known Alivia since she was 10. 10 or 11. I met her a long time ago when we were both seeing the same swing coach. Her parents would drop her off, and when I was practicing in high school and college, we'd practice together, me and her little brother. So I've known her for a long time, and when I got this job in 2019, she was my first phone call. I knew I wanted that kid on my team, and she does everything the right way. She's got a special place in my heart. So it's been an honor to be able to coach her. And then, Braxton, I knew from the recruiting process, he was a lot like me. He just needed somebody to take a chance on him. He's kind of a small town kid, works really hard at it, loves the game more than anybody I know, and just needed somebody to take a chance on him. And he's come in and, in several occurrences been, one of our top 2 or 3 guys. So he's been a huge addition, and he comes in the golf room all the time, and we have hour to 2 hour long chats and stuff. So he's just, a student of the game, always willing to learn. And that's why we coach, just to have kids like that. And I think we'll have those relationships for years to come.
Braxton and Alivia, they're both coming up here on this episode of the Jetcast. We can't get through the Jetcast without asking about Felisa Sahuga. They'd have to fire me if I didn't bring that up. But another top 10 finish for her. Obviously, probably your top returner from last year, who just barely missed out on and even going further last year at the end of the season. I know that you are extremely excited about her potential. And I would bet that there's a pretty decent chance in the spring we might be talking to her on this program too.
Yeah, probably so. She had a really great attitude about, not getting into regionals. Probably a little bit better attitude than I had about it. I was a little.
I would like you to be honest. Should she have gotten in?
I think so. My thing is, I think before the conference championship, she would have been in. I think she didn't play very well at conference, and some other players in the region that were in different conferences did play well. So I think that's kind of where that got her. So I understand it, obviously, but she had such a good year leading up to it, and then to fall just short because of some, and I don't know if anybody remembers, but it was blowing 40, raining sideways the second day. The weather was just awful. So the scores all around.
I think I do remember that day, actually.
Yeah, the scores all around were higher, and so that didn't help. When she's competing against other people in the region that are maybe playing in some better conditions.
But isn't that like you have like anyone with I don't play golf. I play frisbee golf, which is golf adjacent, golf tangent at best. But like if you've watched any golf at all, if you have a brain, you understand like when you're playing Sunday at the British Open and it's raining, it's way different than when you're playing St. Andrews and it is a perfectly sunny sky and no rain and conditions. The golf courses are totally – so how can you compare the two when, Wichita in April – we can have some weather down here. Ask the baseball coaches what that's like trying to play baseball down here in the spring. So isn't there some sort of allowance for that? Apparently not. Yeah,
I'm honestly not totally sure. That would be a question for the committee, and I'm not sure. But, I know that – and kind of what I told her is she did everything she could to put herself in the position to even be talked about.
Sure.
Whatever their committee room looks like, her name had to have been brought up, and that's a good sign. And that's what I told her. And, she was like, "It's okay, Coach. We always got next year." And I'm, internally like, "God, dang it."
Of course.
God, you should have made it, But I wanted it so bad for her. And it would have been great for her and the program to be able to go compete at that next level. But, she's off to a great start so far this fall, so hopefully she's hungry for more, and we can kind of make a quest for that again this year.
Well, obviously, in order to make a quest for that, you've got to get your preparation done in the fall season. How ready for the spring do you think you are, and how do you kind of set all of this up for the ladies and the guys to use this fall season in the right way to put yourself in a position to have that chance to play for regionals and play in the postseason coming up this spring?
Yeah, I mean, on the guys' side, we have a lot of new guys like Braxton and Noah, who's our Canadian kid. We have a transfer that hasn't actually played college golf, but he's played a lot of competitive golf. So we have a lot of guys that were this is their first college golf experience this fall. So they've had some glimpses of good things, and we're hoping that they can get all the butterflies out, if you will,
sure,
or whatever this fall, and kind of understand what college golf is all about and kind of what expectations are there and kind of where they need to raise their game to, so we can take that into the spring. Obviously, Justin's playing solid, so we want to kind of keep that up and carry that over into the spring season. Baylor Harris is a sophomore returning, and he's dropped 20 shots from last year, and
wow,
that's no joke. His scores were kind of mid to high 90s, even a few in the low hundreds, and he's posted 2 or 3 rounds in the 70s so far this year. So he's worked really, really hard and come to really be an impact player for us, and we've needed his scores this season. So I look for him to continue to get better and to produce for us.
And then what about on the women's side?
Yeah, on the ladies' side, we have that core group. Felisa's playing solid. Alivia is, immensely better than last year. She's feeling confident in her swing. The short game is still kind of what we're working on a little bit,
sure,
chipping and putting it a little bit better.
She's off camera smiling at that.
Yeah, and it comes down to, Alivia telling Alivia that I got this and I can do it. So we're still working on that a little bit as well. But our freshman, Aiden Kofelt from Edmond, has come in, and she just acts like she's been here for 3 years already, which is awesome. She, steps up to the first tee and has no nerves and anything like that, which is awesome. She's coming into her own. She's already gotten a lot better since she's been here. We've tweaked a few things, and she's consistently becoming somebody that we're relying on for scores. And then, like I mentioned, Beth was really solid for us last year, and still is. She hasn't produced the scores that I think she wants to yet. We're kind of working through some swing stuff. Her short game's been pretty good, but there's just 2 or 3 bad swings in a round that can kind of get you some pretty bad scores that kind of increase the score pretty quickly. So we're kind of trying to eliminate those. And then, Megan's looking really good. Had her career best in Edmond, so hoping that she can kind of continue that and carry that over and into the rest. So everybody's got things we're working on. I'm working on with them individually to kind of hopefully continue to improve them individually for then the overall betterment of the team.
Final question for you. I know that for the basketball coaches, it doesn't have a great predictor of success or not, but when you go into the winter break after a win, boy, does it feel a lot better than when you go into the winter break after a loss. Now, in golf, a little bit different because only one team can win. There's usually at least 8, maybe 16 or more teams there. So winning and losing maybe not the same standard that you could have as a basketball coach when you either win or you lose the game. But how important is it for everybody to have a good winter break, to have that last tournament be a good event for the team and for the individuals, so that you can feel like, okay, we had a good fall season, we're where we want to be heading into the spring?
Yeah, I think 2 things come into play with that. I'm hoping that, when we look back on both the men and women started their season at Northeastern States tournaments, I hope that when we finish at Tulsa Cup with both teams, they can individually and as a team look back and say, hey, we're better now than we were then.
Sure.
That's kind of one measure of success there. And then, finishing that fall season strongly is important just because we do have, so many months until we get to compete again. And it's kind of like when I tell them you can't leave the golf course without seeing a putt go in, or you can't leave the gym without making your last shot type of thing. So you want to walk off the course for the last time competitively in the fall, feeling good about it. But obviously golf is golf, and that doesn't always happen. But just kind of trying to keep things in perspective and making sure that they know that, they did improve. That's one thing that I keep preaching to them is even though, like, we didn't finish really well in Edmond on the ladies' side in terms of, like, where we stacked up between the other teams, but we got better. And that's how I'm measuring our improvement and our growth is Newman getting better? It doesn't matter how we're finishing in relation to Rogers State, Central Missouri, Central Oklahoma, all those schools. It's, are we getting better as ourselves? And that's what we're kind of trying to look at, what we've been talking to the guys about too. As long as we're getting better as Newman, then we're moving in the right direction, and then the results will come from there.
Taryn Torgerson, Director of Golf, coaching the men and the women here at Newman University. Once again, the women are on the road to Northwest Missouri to play an event hosted by the Bearcats. The men are back in action here in Wichita for the only time this fall. Sand Creek Station next week, Monday and Tuesday for the Newman Invitational. Best of luck to you and all the Jets coming up next week to end the fall season.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
When we come back, freshman on the men's side, Braxton Muldoon will join me as we continue on the Jetcast.
Where can you land the best Jet swag? The official online store of Newman University Athletics, NUJetsgear.com. Store features the greatest variety of Jets logo gear anywhere, the latest clothing styles and hats, to Newman-branded lawn chairs and office supplies, and more. NUJetsgear.com is your place to purchase sports-specific, alumni, parents, and hard-to-find Newman merchandise. Shop right now on your computer or phone, NUJetsgear.com, or click the Shop Now button at NewmanJets.com.
Welcome back to the Jetcast. It is an all-golf show this week on the show. Braxton Muldoon, a freshman, one of the three freshmen on this Newman men's team from Bella Vista, Arkansas, is with us today. 79th the team was at the Washburn Invitational. 12th as a team. He was 79th at Topeka Country Club. Braxton, thank you so much for being on the show. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
What were your thoughts on the Topeka Country Club and how that went for you individually and as a team?
I think we learned a lot as a team. We played some of the hardest greens we'll play all year. They were really, really fast and very receptive, so I was able to spin it off the greens a couple times.
So when you say hard, are you talking about, was it really dry or were they very difficult?
They were very difficult, very undulating and slopey everywhere.
Because, obviously weather is one of the elements that affects golf a lot more than maybe some other sports, and it has been pretty dry around Kansas, so I'm imagining that the fairways and the greens, I don't know how much they were watering up in my hometown, but I imagine that they probably could have been pretty hard.
Yeah, they were pretty rock hard. Everything was rolling out on the fairways, and so sometimes it'd roll into the rough, and there's nothing you could do about it.
How much do you have to make an adjustment when you are playing to know, okay, it's been raining a lot, this is a shot that if I put it, on the fairway and there's a bunker down there, I can be pretty confident that it's not going to roll into that bunker, versus we've had a pretty dry start to the fall, drier than average, I would say, and say, okay, I have to consider that I'm going to get 10, 20, 30 extra yards on this rollout because everything is just so hard right now.
Yeah, it definitely comes into play. It will affect my tee shot. I will take that into account and make sure that nothing will reach that bunker.
So you are a freshman, obviously. How do you think the adjustment has gone for you in terms of getting used to the collegiate golf game?
It's definitely a big adjustment. The play is a lot better than my high school career, so I just have to make sure I play my own game and keep in my own head.
Speaking of your own game, what do you think is the strength of your game?
The strength of my game is probably my iron play. I'm a very solid iron striker. Hit the ball pretty straight with my irons. Don't miss too much.
Okay, which is a very, very good thing to have in terms of the courses that Newman plays on. And I know that Coach Torgerson has talked about iron play being so important with me on this show in the past. One thing that Coach Torgerson maybe would like to see you improve upon as we move to the spring, what do you think is something in your game that you really need to work on?
Something I really need to work on is my wedge game and being able to hit different kinds of shots towards greens and just keep it right next to the pin.
Specifically, approach shots from the sand, from the fairway, or just everything?
Mostly greenside shots, I think. Just about 20-yard shots, very difficult to control.
Speaking of Coach Torgerson, what's it like to be coached by Director of Golf Torgerson?
She's awesome. She works really hard, and I really like having her. She knows the game so well that it just makes me better as a player.
What has been your approach to fall? Because you guys are very unique in the collegiate sports world that you have, basketball and wrestling, there is a break in the middle, but it's a week. You come back and you play pretty quickly. You guys have, basically like a summer vacation off. You come back, you take off here in 2 weeks. You will not have any activity through November, through December, and probably not in January. I think maybe in February, and it depends on the weather. It's probably going to be March. So you've basically got a 2.5 or a 2-month sprint to the finish once you come back. How do you approach the fall season with this split season format that college golf currently has in the NCAA Division II?
Well, I think the fall season is more of like a warm-up for your championship season. And so once you're done with the fall season, you have all winter to go back to the drawing board and just work on what you need to work on to get better and get ready for that championship season.
Now, the
spring.
thing that you're going to be getting ready for next, the men are hosting next week on Monday and Tuesday the Newman Invite here in Wichita. How excited are you to get to play some golf right here in your hometown? Well, I guess your adopted hometown, being now attending school here in Wichita.
I'm really excited. I think we're going to have some support come out from some other teams, which is going to be a lot of fun, and it's a really nice course.
So I'm assuming that what course playing at?
Sand Creek Station.
Sand Creek Station, which I believe is where they hosted the MIAA Championships a year ago when Newman hosted for the Women MIAA Championships. So how familiar are you with the course?
I've played it a couple times, and I really like the layout. It's very fun. Okay. It's different.
Do you think that it fits the eye of Braxton Muldoon?
It definitely does, that's for sure.
Very good. So I'll make this your final question here. What do you think that you need to do? What does the team need to do in order to end the fall well, to set you guys up to have the kind of spring success that you guys want to have?
I think we all need to take on one thing at a time and just make sure we get better at one aspect of our game each tournament.
Braxton Muldoon, freshman from Arkansas, joining us on the Jetcast. Once again, the Newman men are going to be at the Newman Invite coming up on Monday and Tuesday next week, Sand Creek Station, just outside of Wichita. Good luck to you and the Jets. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
When we come back, we'll talk some more women's golf as we wrap up the Jetcast after this. Wrapping up the Jetcast, an all-golf show this week. Alivia Nguyen from Andover, Kansas, a local product, joins us here to wrap up the show. A sophomore, she tied for 21st at the Grace Shin Invitational down in Edmond, hosted by Central Oklahoma. Had a career best round in round one, a 77. Olivia, congratulations on the career best round, and thanks for joining me on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Golf Club of Edmond, obviously that fit your game very well. What did you like about that golf course? How did it suit your game?
It laid out for me very well. The course was very shorter and not as long.
So a little bit more technical, you would say? How much of a confidence boost does that give you to be able to go out, pretty early in the season, shoot a good score like that, a personal best, and, have a very good individual finish inside the top 25?
My confidence level was very high because going into Edmond, my game was on, and so I think that helped.
Now, what do you think is the strength of your game right now in this first half of your sophomore season?
I say my ball hitting.
Okay, so ball striking. So being able to put the ball where you want off of the fairway.
Yes.
And then what is something that Coach Torgerson's got you working on to give you a more complete golf game?
She has helped me with my wedge game recently and my putting and chipping.
Okay, yeah, very important to be able to score well around the green once you get it up there. What's it like being coached by Coach Torgerson?
She's great. She encourages us, and she wants us to do well.
So obviously, Coach Torgerson's kind of a known commodity here in the Wichita golf community, thanks to her career as a Wichita State Shocker. Won, I think, more than one tournament there as a Shocker, and did very well in the black and yellow. How much did that play into your decision to try to decide to stay at home? Just making the short drive from Andover to Wichita to play your collegiate golf.
I know she knows the game very well. So I've known her for a long time, and I wanted to play for her.
Okay. The Midwest Classic is coming up at Maryville, Missouri next for you. Obviously, the fall season is ending pretty quickly for both the men and the women. What are you looking forward to at the Midwest Classic hosted by Northwest Missouri State?
Just getting to play on the golf course and meeting new people.
Is there a golfer, male or female, that you look at and you try to model your game after?
Not really.
No, and that answer is okay. How did you get into the game of golf?
My dad taught me when I was 5 years old, and my brother also plays. So then we go out and play.
Older or younger brother?
Younger brother.
Younger brother. Have there been any skins games between you and your younger brother?
Not really.
No? Are you able to this was I think probably the favorite question that I asked Felisa last year when I had her on. I asked her if she could beat her dad, and the answer was, I believe, an emphatic yes, if I recall. Can you beat Dad?
Yes.
Okay, that's a good sign. Final question for you. How important do you think it's going to be for you and the team to try to end the fall season strong?
I think we need to focus on our short game, because then we can score and just go out and play and just have confidence.
Alivia Nguyen, another local product right here in the Navy and Red in Wichita, Kansas, an Andover native, and the Newman Jets are going to be back in action next week, heading up to Northwest Missouri, Maryville, the site of the Midwest Classic next week. Alivia, good luck. Thanks so much for the time.
Thank you for having me.
That's our Jetcast for this week. Next week, we're going to be talking some bowling. I believe we've got Director of Bowling, Coach Billy Murphy, coming on the show here in the next couple weeks, so stay tuned for that. So until then, Blake Cripps in Wichita saying, go Jets.